Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to show you how to make your e-brake work a lot better on your BMW. Over the years, the emergency brake has gone out of adjustment just with mileage and time. 3 clicks is supposed to be full engagement. You'd pull for a 4th click if you're on a hill and you need it to really hold. And if you're super paranoid and you want to use pretty much all your strength, you're supposed to be able to get a 5th click out of it. That would be normal use. That's about the height you'd want to expect to see the emergency brake at. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. What I'm aiming for is 3 clicks for pretty decent engagement, 4 clicks for really aggressive engagement, and 5 clicks for worst case scenario. I'm sure a lot of you guys with E90s have an out of adjustment parking brake that still holds, but it's kind of not very fun to use. The procedure I'm going to show you today would be similar to all E-Series cars and pretty much any BMW with a handbrake for the last 15 years or so. Alright, to do this procedure properly, you actually leave the wheels on the car. But for demonstration purposes, I will pull off one of the calipers and one of the rotors so you can see the mechanism to understand it conceptually. But overall, the wheel stays on because you want to put a torque on the wheel while the wheel is on to see if you're able to turn it by hand. So we get the car jacked up now. So I have the wheels just slightly elevated off the ground. We're going to be putting the car in neutral, so we're going to want to chalk the front wheel. So if your wheels are in really good shape, you don't want to risk marring them up, then you may opt to remove the wheel, do it via hand this way through one of these holes, and then you'll go ahead and reinstall the wheel and see if it's tight. But I'm taking the rotor all the way off to demonstrate, and as you saw, my wheels aren't in very good condition, so I'm not too concerned. On the other side, I'll show you what to do if we're just going straight through the wheel, not taking apart any of this. There's the adjuster mechanism that I was talking about. This is a 2008 335i with just under 200,000 miles on it. It's an E90, and you may be thinking, why does all this stuff look super clean and almost like new condition? It's just because it's a southern car. So luckily we're not plagued with rust down here, but you get a good idea of what this thing looks like when it's healthy. Still got pad material left. Line up one of the screw holes. So you'll use one of your screw holes as leverage here, and then we'll see how it goes. So if we rotate upward, you'll see it's getting pulled in. If we go downward, you'll see it adjusts out. So downward is adjusting out. On the other side, it will be upward because you're turning in the opposite direction, and that is what sets your tension on this. So what happens is the cables stretch over time, and this is not auto adjusting. You'll have to manually adjust. If you're in an area with a lot of corrosion, maybe one of the shoes will have popped off, or if you forgot to release the handbrake and you didn't realize the car's beeping at you to let go, you could have worn out the shoes. But most of the time it will be the slack in the e-brake that will cause it to be out of adjustment. So that's all I really took this apart for, to show you this. We didn't have to go through all this. We could have just stuck this through the wheel and rotated it just by lifting the car up and taking out only one lug. To start, I'm going to adjust it back in just so we can get the rotor on easily. I had this car for about 60,000 miles, or close to 6 years at this point, and I haven't really had to touch this because the pads are still good, but now that I'm in here, I can see these rotors got to go. They have a huge lip here. They're probably under minimum thickness. So I could easily just put the wheel back on and adjust, but I'm going to leave it off so we can set the initial tension and then throw the wheel on. But there's a critical step that I got to show you guys that I didn't see covered in other videos, or at least I didn't see it all in one video, and that's why I made this video. Let me show you inside. Okay, now inside the vehicle, get yourself a trim tool. Remove this leather boot, lift up on it, completely get it out of the way. If you notice right there where I'm pointing, there's a release spring that you have to disengage before you can set the tension. I couldn't really show you that unless I had the parking brake up, but now that I'm going to put the parking brake down, it will kind of be covered, but I'm just going to stick a screwdriver on that, push it until it engages, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is a tough shot, but I'm basically going to push right here. There's an indent for you to stick your screwdriver, and then it will hook on from this side. And you can only really do that with the e-brake down, so I can't really show you as I'm doing it, but I can show you what it looks like after. You'll see that this will be much more further back and locked into place. So that took some pressure, but nothing too crazy. As you can see, it's clicked into place. And now when I lift up on the handle, there's like no tension on it at all. So you can see it's just clicked into place. And then you can just use a little pick tool to disengage it after we're done. Quick demonstration with that spring compress. It takes no effort to lift up on it. As you can see, the rotor turns. I can hear it starting to drag. That's it. It's locked up pretty good. So technically I could put my wheel on and then try to turn the wheel, but I can already tell that I wouldn't be able to turn it just by how much tension I had on that spring. So now what you do, assuming you put new cables and new shoes and you have a turbo car, you would back off 9 clicks from the time this locks up, and then you should end up with 3 clicks on your e-brake handle. But if we're accounting for cable stretch and shoe wear and all other factors, then I'm not going to just follow the textbook to end up back where I was before. So I'm going to back it off to where I don't feel or hear a drag on the inside, and then that should take up a lot of slack. There's one. I can get it to turn, but I hear a drag. Feels good to me. I don't hear any drag, and it turns easily. So that takes care of that. I'm going to put the wheel back on, and we'll aim to do the same on the other side, but I'll show you just the straightforward method, how you guys will do it. If you're going to follow this DIY, you're not going to mess around with any of this. You're just going to leave your wheel on. So this will resemble the way you guys would do it. You just take off one lug, turn the wheel until you can see the adjuster through the hole. If you have nice wheels, again, you can take your wheel off, but I don't really care about these. Now to set tension on this side, we'll go upwards. For what it's worth, I saw some people commenting that you should also take the slack up off the control arms in the rear to get the tension off the cables. But really that's pointless if you disengage the cables from the interior of the car, because they're not under any tension and the adjustment will be neutral. Okay, so I have lock. For this worth, I'd rather just take the wheel off, to be honest with you. I've already committed. I want to show you it can be done this way, but you'd probably want a little bit of a longer screwdriver if you're going to leave the wheel on. So I backed it off. I have the e-brake up right now, so it may spring back pretty violently, but I'm going to shoot it over. It's a tough shot, but let me see. Yeah, that worked. Once I moved it a little bit, it popped in. As you can hopefully tell, it popped in. Let's test the e-brake now. So I got 1 click. Gets tight on 2. 3 is very tight. 4 is like super tight, is about as hard as you'd ever want to pull. And 5 would be like giving it all you got. Exactly what I wanted. 4 clicks is plenty. And you can see how much more room we have now. Fully engaged. And spinning freely with just 3 clicks, 4 clicks. It's a nice free and simple mod, but it can take years off the feel of your car. I wasn't too concerned with doing this until after I converted my car to manual, because I didn't always use the e-brake as an automatic, even though you should do it either way, but as a manual it's really important if you want to leave your car idling on a hill, etc. All you got is your e-brake. Alright guys, that'll conclude this video showing you how to adjust your e-brake on an E90. This process will be similar to all hand-braked BMWs from the last 15 years or so. If your car is about 10 years old, you should probably attempt this just to take a few years off the feel of it and to make it a little bit more safe. And I think I covered all bases in this video. If this is the first video you're catching on mine, please consider subscribing. I do upload regularly. Thanks for watching.